Hi and welcome to episode 2 of Service After Sacrifice. Today I'm interviewing 180th Fighter Wing Guardsman Dayna Ellis, who is also the creator of Our Backyard Garden. So Dayna, thank you so much for being on my podcast. It's really cool to have you here because we go way back, so I don't always know the people that I interview, but we've been together, since
Almost
2008.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Over.
We're not that old. So Dayna serves at the 180th Fighter Wing, and we actually both have the same career field, so we're personnelists. And Dayna, can you tell me a little bit about your experience in the Ohio Air National Guard?
So I started with the Air National Guard in 2008. My husband had enlisted, and at the time I had recently graduated Bowling Green State University, and I had a really hard time finding employment. So with his encouragement, I thought that I would try this out. So I did this later in life. So I went to basic training with a 3-year-old and a mortgage. So I'm not your average, initial, first time airman, I would say. But it's done wonderful things for myself and my career. So we're really appreciative.
Yeah, awesome. So you have had how many deployments? One or?
I've had one major deployment overseas, and it was for about 6.5, 7 months in 2007. But I am a part of a dual military family, meaning that my husband is also in the Air National Guard, and he deploys quite frequently.
Yeah, so you have kind of that whole lifestyle, and you have both ends of it. Yes, so double whammy. So can you tell us a little bit about what your deployment was like for you?
So in 2016 was probably a very difficult year for myself and my immediate family. My husband deployed in the beginning of 2016, and then 2 short months after his return, I went on my deployment for about 6.5 months. So that caused a lot of turmoil in my immediate family. My 3 children basically went without a parent for the entire year. So of course, that caused a lot of just disturbance within the family. And as a military member, you are, just trained to kind of prepare yourself and transition both in and out of your availability when things of this nature happen. So, that's kind of where my story begins with Our Backyard Garden.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So Dayna is the creator with her husband of Our Backyard Garden, and I just recently learned about this when we were at work together having a conversation, which has led me to get you on the show. I just loved your story. I thought it was so compelling and just right in alignment with what we talk about on the show. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in that and what moved you to want to create a backyard garden?
Yeah, so in January of 2016, my husband goes on a 4-month deployment. But prior to that, just to set the tone, we had recently moved. I have an infant. I have a child who is entering kindergarten, and then I also have a 6th grader that is entering into a new school system. So 4 months prior, all these kind of dynamic things are going on, and we had just finished Christmas, and everything was, preparing for my husband to walk out the door. And I started getting phone calls from the kindergarten teacher that my kindergartner is having, physical outbursts and is being disruptive in the classroom setting, and there was never a time where I had felt so alone because my sounding board was gone. And so here I am going through all of these things as a mother and not having anyone to really consult me, and going down the diagnoses of a child with ADHD and all of that kind of specific challenges that kind of leads to, and the medication and the exercise and the diet restrictions and all these things. And oh, by the way, I still have my full-time job, and I still have my responsibilities as a mother, and my husband is gone, and I also am deploying as soon as he gets home. So I've always had a love affair with gardening. It's been very therapeutic for me, and I never relied on it so heavily as during this time. So so I've always gardened and things of that nature, but with the heavily pushed medication for my son, and I just kind of needed to step back with all the things that were going on, and I kind of pushed pause really, and became more of an advocate for my son, as far as more of a dietary response and less medication. So with all of this included kind of diving into the gardening as more of a permanent fix, of a like a herbal response, more so than all of the other things I was dealing with.
Yeah, that's great. So it sounds like you just, I mean, I can't even imagine having all of that going on. I don't think that that's a situation that many people other than dual military families find themselves in, and not even all dual military families have that situation happen where one parent's, I mean, you're passing in the night, right? One gets home and one's going. So it really sounds like all these challenges kind of led up to this moment. Do you remember the first moment where you had the idea to kind of take this into your own hands?
Yeah, so when my husband was still gone, and my son, they were doing their first dosage for him, and he just became a different person. That's the worst part as a mom, to see your son lose who he is, and then not have any social connection with your significant other, or any type of response from that. So like I mentioned, I had always had a love affair with gardening, and I started really introducing things to him like lavender to kind of calm him at night, to get him to sleep. That's another piece, that he wasn't sleeping well. So I'm trying to calm him at night. I made a lot of herbal teas with mint to kind of get him more focused and alert in the mornings. Tried to reduce his sugar, his cereal intake in the morning, get him more of a protein-based diet. But I'm not educated in that response, but what I am is a passionate mama. And so when I saw those things, those were my way of dealing with that. And so then, in light of everything else, those kiddos that have those type of dependencies, or those responses, they don't understand why they are doing the things that they're doing. And so he felt like he was out of sorts. He was always bullied, and with the introduction, with him being responsible for gardening responses, like even as simple as putting a cucumber plant in a pot and watching it grow, and watering it, he has some validation that what he is doing is having a positive outcome.
Yes.
So
that is just, oh, my heart. That is incredible.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't even realize it had gone that far as to giving your son that responsibility and that accountability and that purpose, right?
Right, absolutely.
The purpose is really what drives us to be better people. Oh my gosh, I love it. So tell me a little bit about, now is he did he go completely off the medication? Are you using this to enhance the results of the medication?
Yeah, so he is not, at this point in time, he is not taking any medicines. So we introduce more of self-awareness. So he is more involved in his own, consequences, both positive and negative. And with that, and then also, like I said, having ownership of different types of, effects. So for example, another example is just to incorporate a healthy diet. He was not doing so well with reading, and so, he likes to cook, and we cook together, so let's get a cookbook out, and let's incorporate you cooking dinner with us once a week to kind of accelerate your reading skills. And so we've done that, we've introduced that. And he makes bread for our family now twice a week, and he has his own bread recipe book, and so he'll just pick whatever, and he just tells me what I need to make. And so that now is a more positive outlet instead of the pressures that I can't imagine the pressures that he feels in a daily basis in a classroom, and or feeling different. So yeah, with the help of the garden, it has really spoken to him and his health. And then it was just an extreme outlet for myself, transitioning back from the military commitments into a normal life and feeling like worthy of providing for my own family.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to talk about two things really quick. The first thing is, can you tell me a little bit more about when you started to realize, like, oh my gosh, this is working?
I just think it was a gradual progression, because there was so much, like I mentioned, so much turmoil in our family. I mean, these are really just small little pieces in my daily life, so I have a son with ADHD. I also had an infant, and I also, my husband was gone. And then I had my 6th grader who was entering more of a dominant role in the household. He was taking over for my husband being gone, with the chores and just conversations and leading the kids to do their chores and take their bath and all this thing. And he's so helpful. So it was just very like momentary where you would see those progressions.
Yes.
But then as I had developed all these great things and done all these great things, then I'm gone.
Oh, wow. Gosh,
So,
plot twist.
Yeah. so then it's almost like they just like pluck you from your reality.
Yeah.
And then you're gone, and my spouse didn't do things the way that I had, or had the passion or the time, because he's now working full time. And so it's almost like all that progression came to a dead stop.
Wow.
Because now
you're on the other side of the world.
Right.
So what was that like? Can you tell us a little bit about how that was for you to have built all that progress and then not even really had time to hand off, right?
Right, yeah. It was, a huge setback, to say the least. But I think being in the military, it basically has just taught me that you just, as odd as it sounds, you just have to flip that switch.
Yeah.
And you cannot. I knew that my family was in good hands with my husband being back. So I honestly had a mission to accomplish, and I just could not give it a thought on it. No, it's as crazy as that sounds.
But you bring up like such a good point, and I know, that a lot of times when we talk to veterans who have deployed, we're talking to men, which, we all know men and women think and feel differently. So sometimes people feel like it's easy for guys to just kind of flip that switch, like you said, but as the mother and the nurturer of the family, it just really adds a different emotional element, right?
Yes.
And, but then again, we have to look at the commitment we made. We raised our right hand and took an oath to do those things, and so you just do them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about then coming home.
Yeah, so that was, I tell you, I don't know if it's more about that gap in time that I had really done so much when my husband was gone. But that was really hard. That was really, really hard for me coming home. And I found myself right back in the dirt, like I would spend hours upon hours in the pouring rain in March and April, and I just would, start trying to build my garden beds and, start composting and getting the soil prepared for the spring. And then I enlisted my kiddos to help me, but it was like, I felt like after I had gotten through that initial just transition back into society, that it was time for me to kind of really start hitting home and incorporating that into my household, and getting my my other family to kind of buy in,
Yeah.
Because
tell me about that. What was their reaction to you? Were they like,
yeah,
are you crazy?
Yeah. Well, and because I'm in school, like I'm 3 weeks away from having my master's degree currently.
Wow.
So I had done all these things when I was deployed because you have free time, and so I needed to settle my mind.
Of course.
I needed to stop thinking about what was going on at home, and so, anyways, you have so much going on, and so yeah, when I came back from my deployment, we slowly incorporated 8 garden beds in the back of my suburban,
love it.
house. I live like less than 10 minutes away from here. So we did all that, and just trying to be more responsible with the food that we eat and how we grow it. And it's such a form of accomplishment when you can go out to your backyard and grab your potatoes and make your potato salad and provide for your family. That to me, in the spring and the summer and even in the fall, just speaks volumes to all of these pressures, especially that I feel as a mom and a military member, and as a patron in society, and then for my kids, these becoming more self-sufficient.
Yes.
It's a plus that they can take with them for a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What an amazing story. So if you had to look back on everything that has come about from this initial challenge, and then purpose and cause, what would you say that the biggest thing is that it's given you?
Confidence. And I would say one of the things too is that don't shy away from being vulnerable, of putting your name out there or your passion out there, because there really is someone sitting right next to you that you can rub off on, or
Absolutely.
have some great opportunity to network and share whatever they have. And it's just so rewarding to know that there's other people who can benefit from your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love that. That is such a great piece of insight, because a lot of times people feel like they have to actually do something or take an action step to help and make the world a better place, but sometimes it's just sharing your story, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
So now you are doing this as a business. So let's talk about that a little bit. At what point did you decide to take this from your passion to a marketable business?
So officially in 2017, we became an LLC, and initially I went to different markets, trying to sell. Currently, I make liquid soap, so my kiddos go through it all the time. I
Sure,
mean,
I can imagine.
Thank goodness, you know. But so my kiddos go through this liquid soap all the time, and so I do have that through purchase at my website. And I'm actually in 3 different locations currently, so that's been wonderful. But I've made like lavender salve, and those the salve has helped my kiddos, and that's all the things that I have that I sell have been incorporated into our house in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
In the spring and the summer, we grow carrots and berries, and we make our own jam, and I do sell that then too. We make a really good carrot cake jam, and a mixed berry trifle. My husband's more responsible for doing those kind of things, but the cosmetic piece of it, I kind of roll with. Yeah, with a lot of the herb, and they're really simple herbs to grow. I use a lot of lavender, lemon balm, mint, sage, basil. So I use a lot of those kind of things to cook with and to incorporate.
Amazing. And now you're looking at teaching other people who want to learn about what you're doing and incorporating these healthy things into their families.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I would love opportunity to have someone else realize that caring for another plant or seeing the fruit of your labor, I guess, is very rewarding. And I mean, I'm really passionate about it. I mean, it's something as simple as, you know, putting a tomato plant in your 5-gallon bucket that's been sitting in the back corner of your garage for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just something that simple. Or a cucumber in a different pot. I mean, it could be like you could just cut off a top of a milk jug and put some dirt in there, and you know, these simple fixes that can just really have such a significant positive outcome.
Yeah, and the whole family. I mean, we know it's no secret that kids these days are just really struggling with mental health and different types of challenges, and just, you know, until you brought this into my awareness of, you know, taking care of something. I think that's a big thing missing in our society these days, because kids are so well cared for. Yeah. They don't get as much of an opportunity to care for others, and that obviously has implications on how we grow up. So what an amazing insight. Oh, I love that. See, I love doing these because I'm always learning and growing as well. So we are going to be doing some classes out here at the Who's Retreat Center with Dayna this summer. So if you want to learn more about that, stay tuned. But in the meantime, if someone wants to try, like, I gotta have some of this carrot cake jam. Oh my gosh, that might change my life. Yeah. So if someone wants to get some products from you, or you have a blog, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, my website is ourBackyardGarden.com, and we also are on Facebook and Instagram under the same thing.
Perfect. And we'll have those links in the comments as well. Dayna, thank you so much for coming on today. It has been such a pleasure, and even learning more about you. So we appreciate it, and thank you for tuning in to Service After Sacrifice. We'll see you next month.